When athletic directors begin the search for a new head coach, they're looking for a leader who checks the boxes and can elevate the program to the next level. Eric Peterson is the right man for the job and is no stranger to turning programs around. He helped USD to its first conference title in the D1 era in his first stint at South Dakota, and then did the same thing at Utah State when the Aggies went to 3 straight NCAA tournaments.
The process, while this process might have seemed quick, it was not rushed at all. President Gestring and I were extremely focused on the attributes and characteristics of what we were looking for in our next head men's basketball coach, and Eric, without a doubt, checked all the boxes and more.
Our next USD men's basketball head coach and alumnus, Eric Peterson.
South Dakota are Summit League champions again. It's a three-peat for the Coyotes. USD reigns in Sioux Falls.
How do you replace a coach that has taken the program where it had never been before?
For South Dakota, the dream is now a reality. The Yotes move on to the Sweet 16 for the first time in program history.
But today is just another great day to be a Coyote. I feel like I said that just about 3 weeks ago.
With that, I'm sure everyone is dying to hear from your new coach. I would like to introduce to you Karius.
Taylor spent the last 2 seasons on the staff at Utah State. She spent her first season as the director of operations before being promoted to assistant coach for the 2021-22 season. Ignoto was on staff as an assistant coach for 2 seasons at Western Illinois and 1 at Omaha. She spent 1 season as the head coach at Rock Valley College, where she was named the N4C Coach of the Year and the Region 4 Coach of the Year.
I had heard it was open, obviously, when Dawn left, and I think I was at the Final Four at the time, because in coaching, it's a small world, so when people find out about jobs, it goes fast. But I had heard it was open. I had met Kayla, a long time ago. We both entered the Summit League. I was at Western Illinois as an assistant, and she was here as an assistant, both first time in the league, our first years together in the Summit League. I had met her through there, so I'd known her just a little bit, just throughout the coaching world and just recruiting and stuff like that, and just through mutual friends. Her husband worked at Utah State at one point and I was at Utah State as well. So just through connections, I had known her. So when I had heard it was open, and coaching world is small, you find out who is potentially in the mix. I kind of had reached out, and just it went really fast. She had called me, I think, the night of when she had her press conference. She texted me that night, like, hey, do you have any interest in talking? She called me that night. We spoke for about a couple times throughout that week, and then she officially offered me the job maybe a week later. But it happens really, really fast in coaching, and then getting out here, it happened really fast too. So that's was the interview process and how it started. Yeah, so I think I got hired maybe on a Tuesday. I took the job, and then I had to be out in Vermilion, I believe it was Thursday. And then we had our first workout Thursday. I met the team, 8 a.m. I went recruiting out on Friday. I went to Milwaukee. So the last 8 or so weeks, I was back and forth. I'd come to Vermilion for 10 days. I'd go back to Utah for a week from where my job was, or my previous job, and then I'd come out to Vermilion another 2 weeks, and I'd go back for a week. So it's tough. It happens really, really fast. It's a whirlwind. This last Ty and I joke about it all the time. We're I don't even know how long we've been here. Just because you're jumping from place to place. Ty and I, we were roommates at the assistant volleyball coach's house. They let us stay there for a couple weeks. We're bouncing around. So it's a different process. It's unique. It's been a whirlwind, but No, it's been awesome. It just happens really, really fast. You know, you jump in workouts right away. You're meeting the team. You're going out recruiting. You're on the phone with recruits. You're trying to, you know, figure out your team for next year. So it was a lot at once, but that's just kind of how the coaching world works. You just pick up your life and you go within a week, and you go back and you try to move up or pack up all your stuff and then get out there officially. It's tough. I mean, for them, like for us, we think we're going through a lot of change, but for them, they're going through a lot of change themselves. You know, it's a brand new coaching staff. It's different for them. It's just as much for them as it is for us. So, you know, first day, we're sitting, Coach Ty and I were here. We started the first day. We sat down with them in just a room, and we just hung out with them, and we let them ask any question they wanted, you know. So it's really important, like right when you first get a job, you want to recruit and look ahead, but you also need to start establishing those relationships with the players that are there, and kind of gaining their trust, and also just kind of being a comforting piece. Like, it's really scary when you lose your head coach and your coaching staff, and you don't know what's going to happen next. So it was really important in those first couple weeks that we started to really try to sit down with them, talk to them, build a relationship with them, kind of just, you know, like let them know that it's going to be okay. So for us, it was kind of weird timing. Got hired a little bit late, so we actually had one workout with them, and then, you know, that mandatory workouts were over, so we couldn't work out with them anymore just because of finals. It's NCAA rules. You have to kind of stop working out at a certain point for the remainder of the semester. So kind of tough timing, because then they all kind of scattered, went home. So a lot of it was just kind of checking in, sending text weekly, or getting on the phone with them just so they can get to know us better, kind of put them at ease. But just weird timing where we couldn't get a lot of face-to-face interaction. So that couple of days was really important when I first got here. But yeah, no, we think it's tough for us, but it's tough for them as well. So that was really, really important to kind of just dive in right away, and let them get to know us a little bit better. Yeah, I changed my major quite a few times in college. I mean, I think education I started at, marketing, social work, psychology. Like, I just couldn't really figure out what I wanted to do. Jumped around a lot, which I know a lot of people change their majors, but I just couldn't figure it out. And I just got to a point where I just like really didn't want basketball to end. I wanted to coach, I wanted to help people, I wanted to give back to just student athletes and kind of, and this is cliche, but just kind of grow them in all areas and kind of prepare them for the next step. So the big thing for me is I just really didn't want basketball to end. And I love like seeing it click for players and seeing them, you know, you get invited to weddings and different graduations and all this stuff down later on in life, and you build these connections and you impact these kids more than you think you ever would, and it's just such a rewarding profession. It's a tough profession, but it's super rewarding. So just really wanted to get into it just because I wanted to give student athletes a full experience. That was really important to me because I feel like, you know, that was important to me when I was a player. So I wanted to give that back to somebody. And then I just didn't want basketball to end. This also was another piece of it. So it was either like keep playing or get into the coaching side. So that was big for me.
Gabby has spent time as an assistant coach at Valparaiso and Butler the past 4 years. Gabby served 6 seasons as the head coach of Dominican University, an NCAA Division III program in Illinois. Johnson graduated from Thomas More College in Crestview Hills, Kentucky. She graduated with the third most career assists in program history.
So I actually met Coach Kayla about 4 or 5 years ago recruiting in Toronto. We have some mutual friends. And so we kind of just got to know each other a little bit there briefly. And then when the position opened, I had one of my friends reach out for me, and Kayla and I just started having phone conversations about it actually. Yeah, so Kayla and I talked. We just had a couple things we wanted to chat about. You know, she asked about, you know, what my thoughts are with recruiting and basketball and South Dakota and what my interest level was. And, you know, over the next week or so, we kind of went back and forth, and I just felt really good about the energy that she was bringing, which is great. I think it's really important that a head coach has energy. Assistant coaches, we can only get kids so excited about a place. You know, it's their job to kind of finish the job. So I was really excited about the opportunity to work for someone with that kind of energy. But I also told her that I needed to see South Dakota before I took the job. I'd never been here before, and so I was really excited about that. And so I came here, and I was like, this is it. I honestly went and visited another place, and I was like, oh, this place is cool. And then the moment I walked onto campus, I was like, this is the place where I want to work next. So I accepted the job on Thursday night, my first day here, for my visit. And then Friday, I flew back to Indianapolis. And then by Monday, I was starting work So I was on Zoom calls and we were working on recruit visits, and I had to figure out when I was going to get out here for an official visit that we were going to have the following week. And so it's been a whirlwind, to be honest with you. I've kind of, the first 48 hours were intense. I thought I was going to coach high school basketball. My high school coach is a phenomenal woman, and I was like, I'm kind of a math nerd, and so I was like, I'm going to be a math and chemistry teacher at a high school and coach high school basketball. And all of a sudden I was like, I do not want to be a teacher. This is not for me. So I got an accounting degree and was like, I'll coach college basketball. And so I graduated college and immediately joined the staff at the school that I went to, Thomas More. And since then, I've just kind of gone with the punches. You know, I was an assistant at a D2 for 2 years for a coach who had 2 national championships. And so I learned a lot about hard work and being successful from her. And then I was a D3 head coach for 6 years, and then I got into Division I at Valparaiso and spent last year at Butler. So it has been definitely something that I never really envisioned kind of getting here. If you play Division III, I think for the longest time I never thought I could be a Division I assistant, but it has been absolutely amazing, and I'm really excited to be here at USD.
Ty comes to South Dakota with more than 20 years of coaching experience, including 4 seasons as a head coach. He spent the past 6 seasons at St. Louis University and the last 4 as associate head coach. His father coached at the Division I level for 26 years, and his brother is currently the Minnesota State men's basketball coach. Ty played at the JUCO ranks before finishing his career under his dad at SIUE.
Found out Kayla took their position here at South Dakota. Of course, I've been in the business quite a while, so I, really also in the Midwest, so I knew a lot of people that knew Kayla, and so I made some calls to see if, see kind of what she's thinking about her staff and what she's gonna do. So, had some coaches call out on my behalf and talk to her, and then kind of got to a point where about a week later, after those conversations happened, she reached out to me and we talked, and it kind of went from that one conversation about a week and a half of text messages back and forth, and also communicating on the phone back and forth, and just every phone call just kind of got a little bit better and better, a little longer and longer, and kind of really got to know each other quite well in a short period of time. I'll never forget it when she, called. It was kind of late in the evening. She called and we talked about it. And she offered me a job, and of course, myself and my wife, Julie, and my son was home at the time, and really happy to get that phone call and excited about the next step, the next journey that we're going to be on, and it was a whirlwind, and this business is all about a whirlwind. Quite honestly, there's the ups and downs, and there's moving around and different places, but we really felt comfortable after doing research and talking to a lot of different coaches in the Midwest and knowing this program quite well and the success they've had. And then, quite honestly, it came down to really Kayla. Kayla's just a super young person that I think has a bright future in the business. And, I believe a lot, of course, what she believes in. Her values are very, very strong. And so it's something that I, believe in. And so I wanted to put myself in a position to be, of course, successful. And I have a lot of confidence in Kayla to be very, very successful. And so that was great. And then, the next kind of 48 hours after accepting the position, of course, is just, located, trying to sell a house, making sure my family is good. That's the most important thing to me as well, just making sure my wife's good, making sure my 2 boys are in a good spot as well. And so that's important. And then, really going from there is just, really getting on campus, and then, really kind of seeing what we need to do to move forward and keep this program where it's at a high level. I was on the road at a state tournament for my previous school I was working at, and probably 2 to 2.5 weeks later, I was here. And my first official day on campus, we had a recruit on campus, and we did everything that we normally would do, and did the lunch and did the dinner and hosted, and so the next day I was off in a plane recruiting. Went out east and did our first evaluation weekend by NCAA rules, and went out there and covered that tournament for a weekend, and then came back and really just trying to lock in. But the nice thing is the connections that I have and the connections that Kayla has, and being here at South Dakota, understanding the type of kids that we're recruiting and the programs we're recruiting from, it made it a little bit easier, but also it's a whirlwind. I mean, you're changing logos, colors. You're just doing a lot of things different because every university is operated differently and every program is a little bit different. But, again, we just kind of, put our head down and just kind of went to work, and it all worked out very, very well, pretty smoothly as well. Yeah, it's, something that is very difficult. Of course, I got here on campus, and I was fortunate the university allowed me to kind of be in the Holiday Inn for quite a while, so I stayed there and kind of went from that transition over to Michael, the assistant volleyball coach's house, and he was awful nice to let us, kind of bunk up in his house, and did that. And so, again, we're just living really out of a suitcase. And, again, just with the experiences of being an athlete, understanding the, that kind of the travel and living it like how we live, athletes understand that. So it's always kind of been with me. So, it was an adjustment, but we made it work. And, the next step was really to kind of get to know our players. And, again, I had one chance to be here for one workout. Then they went home for a while. So a lot of Zooms, a lot of phone calls, text messaging, really just to kind of get to know them that way. Again, they're on campus now, so it really works out well. We're working out, so I enjoy that part of it. Our relationships are bonding and getting stronger, because that's quite honestly what it's all about. So, the adjustments are tough, and then, I kind of brought back, my family, trying to get them settled. My wife's got to resign from her position and her job, and we got to, get the house sold, and we got to move up here, find a place to live. But, the thing is, I found out really, really quickly how supportive this university is, this community is. Everyone was, I could have stayed probably at numerous houses around the area. Just everyone was offering a room and different things for us to stay at. So, again, I knew this was a really neat, special place when that was happening, because it doesn't happen everywhere.
Taylor comes to Coyote women's basketball after spending the past 9 years in an operations role with the Dayton volleyball program. Filson graduated from the University of Northwest St. Paul, where she helped the Eagles volleyball team reach the NCAA tournament.
My name is Taylor Filson. I grew up in Northfield, Minnesota, and I played volleyball at the University of Northwestern St. Paul in Roseville, Minnesota. So I graduated from University of Northwestern up in St. Paul, Minnesota, and I knew that I wanted to be in the athletic world. Got a postgraduate internship opportunity from the NCAA to be on campus at Northwestern, and was doing more general administrative athletic duties, but missed the wins and the losses. So knew that I wanted to be back with the team. So knew kind of a realm that I wanted to go into was operations. I didn't want to coach and didn't feel like that was one of my passions, but I loved the behind the scenes aspects. So I ended up getting a job at the University of Dayton in volleyball, which was my world at the time. But in the back of my mind, also kind of had known that women's basketball might be something that I wanted to go into. My mom coached Division I and Division III basketball growing up, and that was kind of the family thing, and her influence, and growing up in the athletic world around a lot of big sisters and a lot of athletic departments kind of solidified that that's what I wanted to do. So initially, I was part of the coaching staff at Northwestern for one season, and knew that I enjoyed being around the team, but also knew that my strengths weren't necessarily coaching, and that wasn't something that fired me up. I didn't love being on court, but I loved the details. I loved the behind the scenes aspects. So when I started at Dayton, I was the video coordinator there as part of being the director of operations, and then assisted with really a lot of different tasks. So was involved in pretty much all the behind the scenes aspects of the program there for 8 seasons, which was a long time, and I got hired really, really young, but we were able to be successful, and I worked with a phenomenal coaching staff that made it home for that long. After being with the volleyball program for that long and really growing as a person and experiencing so many different aspects, when I was really dreaming about what could be next, I knew that women's basketball was an opportunity that I may want to go into, but I needed that to be at a specific place. And when I saw that the South Dakota position was open, I did my background research and saw the traditions, saw the history of the program, saw the coaching staff. And it was odd timing, and so that was another thing, that I was kind of looking at and like, wow, this is a really unique opportunity for this time of year. So got on the phone with Coach Kayla and had a phenomenal conversation, and we just had a great long conversation about the program, the history, why she was here, why she came back to South Dakota. and just the tradition and the people surrounding this place. And that fired me up immediately. And I knew that this was a place that I could go and that the program could be successful. And the support behind the program was another big reason of why I was interested in doing operations here. So the first few weeks on campus have been a complete whirlwind, starting a new job, a new position so close to the season. But the coaching staff, I would say, and the team have just made this almost as smooth as it possibly could be. This also really feels very much like coming home. I am now 4.5 hours from Northfield, Minnesota, instead of being a flight away. So that's just an amazing thing to be so close to family. And I know they're really fired up to come watch South Dakota women's basketball games here. And I think, just learning everything across the board from the department, learning from the student athletes, learning from our coaches, my goal is really just to be able to support the team and the coaching staff in whatever they need, be behind the scenes in that. And I think the thing that just really probably fires me up the most is the staff collaboration. Everyone is all in to help with anything and just good people. So they have really made it effortless. It's been crazy, we've been running around, but getting to see so many different aspects of the program and getting to see so many different things as we start this season has been awesome. I don't think I would have it any other way because it really is being thrown into the fire right away, but with a great group and a group that's made it as easy as possible to transition in.